B is for balance. Hi, I'm Philip and welcome back to the A to Z of Clarinet. It is time for B, and B is for balance. Now, to a clarinet player, balance can mean a lot of things. It could mean the balance of dynamics within an ensemble. It could mean a work-life balance, which we all know doesn't really exist. But today, balance is all about reeds. Now, we all know that we need reeds that play well in order to get the best out of our playing. And there are all kinds of little adjustments that we can do to reeds to make sure they last longer, to keep them consistent, and even, adjust them so that the sound changes to our personal preferences. Aside from breaking in reeds, which is a really important thing to do, how you treat them when they're young has a huge influence on how they'll behave as they mature. One of the simplest, quickest and easiest things to do, but also one of the most important things that you can do with your reeds, is to balance them. Now, I'm sure you've had the experience of playing on a new reed and it has the potential to be a good reed, it's trying to be a good reed, but there's just something about it that seems a little bit off. Maybe it's a bit too stuffy, maybe the articulation isn't quite great, or there's something in the sound that you're just not super happy about. Now, this is one of the circumstances, or some of the circumstances, where balancing your reeds really can help. Basically, balancing is making sure your reed feels symmetrical so that you get the best possible vibration. Now, note I said feels symmetrical. We'll get to that in a second. As you probably know, the vamp of your reed is a complex curve. It's curved that way and it's also curved that way. Now, that complex curve is designed by really, really smart people with computers, and it's designed to produce the kind of vibration that gives you that ringing, really characteristic, clear, clarinet-y sound. Unless you're making your reeds by hand, your reeds, or that curve, is being made by really complicated machinery that's very, very expensive and, works in tolerances that we can't even imagine. So why then, if we're having reeds that are made by these, billion-dollar machines, why is it that some reeds just don't feel symmetrical, or they don't feel quite right? Well, that's because cane is a natural fiber, right? It's a plant that grows, and how it grows, when it grows, and where it grows has a lot to do with the kind of material from which our reeds are actually made. So while our reed might measure exactly symmetrical, you can get a measuring device out and have it to within a billionth of a millimeter or whatever. It might measure absolutely symmetrical, but it still feels kind of off. Now, that's because of the density of the cane. That could be because of the weather when the cane grew. It might have been how long it stayed in the sunshine. All of these things contribute to how a reed feels. Now, fortunately, balancing is a really, really quick and really easy process to undertake. And there are 4 steps. First of all, we want to test the reed for symmetry. We want to test each side of the reed in turn to see how it feels. Now, one side might end up being stuffier than the other. Now, you don't need to muck around with, repositioning your reed or twisting your mouthpiece on the barrel or anything like that. It's really simple. All you do is you twist the mouthpiece inside your mouth one way and then the other way. And what we're doing is, when we twist it this way, say we're twisting our mouthpiece to the left, have a little look at my really dodgy animation there, my apologies. If we're rotating our mouthpiece to the left, we're blocking off the left-hand side of the reed, which means we're feeling the resistance on the right-hand side of the reed. Likewise, when we twist the clarinet the other way, we twist it to the right, or clockwise, I guess, we're closing off the right side of the reed and we're feeling the response of the left-hand side of the reed. One of those sides might feel stuffier or clearer than the other, and we want to identify that so we can move on to step 2. So now that we know which side is more resistant, we want to make a little adjustment. Now, you could use a reed knife, you could use sandpaper. There's a bunch of different ways that you can do this. Just use the one that you're most comfortable with. If we noticed that the right-hand side of the reed was more resistant, then we're going to take a little bit of material off the right-hand side of the reed. It's as simple as that. Now, don't go crazy. Don't take too much material off, because remember, you can't put it back. And it's good to remember that it's best practice to scrape or to sand downhill on the reed, so following that curve toward the tip rather than the other way. If you were to look at the reed side on, you would notice that if you're moving downhill, you're kind of going with the grain of the fibers of the reed, whereas if you were to go the other way, you run the risk of lifting those fibers up and tearing out those reed fibers. Okay, so do a little adjustment, smooth down the one side of the reed that was a little bit more resistant, and then we'll move on to step 3. Step 3, check the reed, check your progress. This is basically exactly the same as step 1. We want to play the reed again and test either side. Now, if there is a minute improvement, and at least half the time, maybe even 75% of the time, in my experience, it makes an improvement straight away. If there's a minute improvement, move on to step 4. Step 4 is wait. Wait at least a day before you make any more adjustments, okay? Remember, you can't put wood back onto the reed, okay? You can take it off, but you can't put it back. So we've checked our reed, and most likely it's playing better, in which case, hooray. Hooray! Let's keep on moving forward and go on with your practice session. But if you've had to wait a day because it's not quite good enough yet, that's fine too. Just leave it for a day, and then you can repeat the process 24 hours later. So that's it. It's as simple as that. That is one really quick, really easy way to improve the playability of a few of your reeds. Now, some reeds, they won't respond to this. They're not going to be good reeds. Some reeds will just never do it for you, unfortunately. But reeds that do have potential tend to respond pretty well to this little operation. Now that takes me to my other little bonus B, right? And that is balance in terms of balancing your time with reeds. I've heard people say that, hey, do you balance your reeds? Nah, life's too short to balance reeds. And I know a lot of people, their answer for reed problems is to just keep buying reeds. That's fine if you've got a lot of money or if you've got a sponsorship. If that's you, if you prefer to just buy reeds and use fewer reeds in a box, that's fine. Basically, you're solving this problem by paying your way out of it. There is the other solution, and that is to work on your reeds consistently. You might find that you need to buy fewer reeds, but you do spend time working on those reeds. And for a lot of people, time is worth money. What both of those approaches have in common is that life is too short. The people who want to just buy more reeds, they say life's too short to work on reeds, and the other camp says life's too short to play on bad reeds. So we kind of get to the same point. We both want to play on good reeds, and we both are, mindful of our time. Now, I come from the camp of working on your reeds, but always working on your reeds. I've found that if I do a little bit of work on my reeds every single time I play, I don't mean every day, I mean every time I play. If I do 2 practice sessions in a day, I'm going to work on reeds twice a day. But I'm only talking about 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes of working on reeds. I could be making a small adjustment. I could be breaking in some new reeds every day, or I could be balancing a reed each day. But by working on that skill constantly, I never have to set aside big blocks of time to work on reeds, right? So the balance there for me is about balancing your time with reeds. For me, a little bit of work on reeds every single time I play is going to save me from having to have big chunks of time working on reeds. And I could be preparing for a concert, safe in the knowledge that I have a few reeds that are going to be ready to go, and they're going to be concert ready when I need them, because I've worked on my reeds. So I hope this has helped. I hope this has given you a little bit of insight into how reeds work and how we can improve our chances of having good reeds when we need them. Thank you so much for all the support, all of the comments and the subscribers. I'm really enjoying making these videos. Stay tuned for episode 3C. It's going to be a great one. And I look forward to seeing you then. Take care, and I'll see you soon.